So we're gonna take this video out called Why Nike is Dying. Let's see the points.
So for about a year now, I have heard story after story about how Nike is dying. For a long time now, I assumed this was all fluff and Nike would bounce back. The more I looked into this, the more I uncovered. They've been the target of an organized crime ring. Their sneakers are no longer reselling. Twice as many Nike sneakers are hitting sale racks than 2 years ago. And they've just had to lay off 2% of their entire workforce. And that's just the headlines. There's a lot more to this that signal a pretty bleak view for Nike in general. So how the hell did we get here? Well, let's walk it back to 2019, right before the pandemic. Now, this was one of the wildest times for the world in general, but the sneaker industry was about to see one of the biggest booms to sneaker reselling it has ever seen. Now, the hype and resale culture around sneakers has been steadily increasing for a while before all of this. But when the pandemic hit, it kind of seemed like sneaker reselling was the entire world's side hustle. And I distinctly remember at that time, I kind of thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought everybody would be focusing on buying toilet paper and hand sanitizing rather than buying sneakers. Everybody was at home and not going to work, and this led to a huge influx of sneaker resellers. Suddenly, sneakers that would normally have sat on shelves are now selling out, and some of them even reselling for double or triple the price. So even though almost every Nike and Jordan brand sneaker was flying at this point, the main focus for resellers was the Jordan 1 and the Nike Dunk. These were especially hard sneakers to buy from Nike. You'd have to enter as many raffles as you possibly can at all of the different retailers that were selling them, wake up extra early and try and buy them from the Nike Sneakers app, and basically just cross your fingers. And in most cases, you would not get them, leaving the only option available would be to buy them on the secondary market and pay way more than you originally anticipated. And this was mainly because of resellers would just come through, scoop up all of the pairs, usually using bots. But something else super interesting happened at Nike around this time, because in January 2020, Nike announced their brand new CEO, John Donahoe. And when John came in, Nike had an exodus of key employees leave the company. Veteran designers, marketing gurus, and executives. Now, all of this caused Nike to do a lot of restructuring. They invested a lot more of their design and marketing resources into what was working at the time, retro sneakers. Now, this change in focus kind of worked for a while. Nike's sales shot up 19% in 2021, and 2 years into John's time as CEO, gross margins climbed to a 6-year high of 46%. But what it seemed like was that John Donahoe came into Nike and tried to focus the brand on the hype factor, what was working, all of these retro sneakers. So they put more focus, time, and resources into things like the Nike Sneakers app, and almost create a separate branch of Nike which would really try and focus on hype culture rather than just a footwear brand. What this focus and pouring of resources into one direction kind of led to was the lack of innovation in other areas. And this has been echoed by a ton of people, even Nike employees and people who have been attached to the brand for a while. The Donahoe era alienated retail partners from mom and pops to Foot Locker, fired employees with decades of long experience that understood Nike's secret sauce, took the fun out of a lot of their advertisements, became too reliant on retro, and ended sports categories. Now, this is just one quote. There is plenty of others which also kind of echo a very similar thing. And this is kind of where the statement Nike is boring comes in, because that's a statement I have heard so many times in the comment sections, in other people's comment sections, pretty much echoed throughout the entire sneaker community. People basically saying that it's become repetitive and there's nothing new. Just to put this in perspective, in 2023, Nike released 116 new versions of the Nike Dunk Low versus 31 in 2029. And for some reason, this hasn't stopped. We're not even 2 months into 2024, and we've already had 30 new versions of the Dunk Low at the time of recording. Now, maybe in 2020, a lot of these would have sold out and potentially even resold, but now they're sitting on shelves, and some of them are even available for under the retail price. Now, the sneaker resale market dying wouldn't be such an issue for Nike if they hadn't put too much focus on it. Because while Nike has been pumping out all of these retro sneakers, they haven't really been releasing anything else that has people super super excited. You guys remember the Nike Joyride sneaker where they introduced this new cushioning that had thousands of tiny spongy balls in the midsole? Or when they first introduced their brand new React cushioning and how insanely comfortable that was? Or when they launched the Vapor Max or the Air Max 720 with the most air ever put into a sneaker? Even the Space Hippie pack they did got people super excited about. I mean, sneakers made of literal garbage. All of these were innovative, creative new ideas brought to market right before this huge retro boom. Like honestly, I haven't felt that kind of excitement with a Nike sneaker in quite a long time. You know, something that wasn't a super hyped up collaboration or a retro Jordan. The past few years, it feels like every new Air Max flagship sneaker that Nike releases is just some kind of iteration on what they did the year before. You know, like a slight upgrade or some slight tweaks to the same thing. Most of their newer styles are based on older ones or just fully retro shoes from the past. So right now we have a huge influx of Nike sneakers that are sitting on shelves and a big lack of innovation that Nike's competitors are closing in on. Take a look at this graph that shows the share price change between Nike and its competitors Deekers and On Running. Nike's down 20% while the others are up almost 80%. Now, this is mostly for the running category, which by the way, both New Balance and Adidas seem to be doing slightly better than Nike in as well. So what this showcases is that Nike is under a ton of pressure right now from their competitors who haven't put so much focus into the hype category or retroing a ton of models. And that's mostly because On Running is relatively new. They have a new technology. Deekers or Hoka and Uggs and everything have kind of been trending and again have some more innovative type designs. But while this whole retro boom was happening, something else on top of all of this was hitting Nike too. Organized crime. Now, while that sounds insane, the reality of this is much crazier. For the past few years now, Nike has been the target of an unprecedented amount of theft to its supply chain. Some of the most popular stories include Nike's Memphis facility when that got hit in 2022. Approximately $800,000 worth of Nike product was stolen from cargo trains. A lot of the sneakers that were stolen ended up being listed on reselling platforms like StockX, which actually caused StockX to pause trading on some specific sneaker models. Another big one was when a Nike store got hit. $200,000 of product was stolen that day. Nike even had to shut down their flagship store in Portland because it was getting robbed so much. And now it seems like every week we read a new headline where police have uncovered some massive amount of Nike sneakers in a warehouse. Most recently, the LAPD recovered $5 million worth of Nike product. They had a $7 million bust before that. So all of this has also got to be massively hurting Nike. Ultimately, it kind of seems like Nike is getting hit from all different types of angles. Some of these things are obviously out of their control, but others seem to be a culmination of decisions that they've made. The sneaker resale market has been on a downward trend for a while now. It's not just Nike sneakers, but all of them. And I believe that has a lot to do with the current cost of living, but I don't think we can deny the clear fatigue and oversaturation that Nike has contributed to this. And what's really interesting about the conversation of the sneaker resale market heading in a downward trend is the one that sneakerheads are having. There seems to be two big arguments going on. On one hand, people are happy that sneakers are now a lot more accessible than they used to be. Sneakers that typically would have sold out in seconds and ended up on the resale market for double or triple the price are now pretty easy to come by and sometimes even on sale. Now it's pretty common to be able to buy Jordan 1s, Nike Dunks, or even collaboration sneakers. But on the other hand, the argument to this, I guess the counter opinion that I've seen people have, is that this oversaturation of sneakers that has caused the resale prices to go down is actually hurting the sneaker industry and making it more boring. Currently seeing quite a lot of sneaker resellers close down shop or file for bankruptcy. Places like Restocks.net or Kiki Kicks are two of the most recent ones, which leaves the main players in this like eBay, StockX, Go to kind of fight over what's left. To sum all of this up and I guess give you guys my opinion on all of this, I think something does need to change at Nike. You know, as someone who talks about sneakers full time, I would love to see new, exciting product, stuff that's just interesting or just fun. There is a lot of smaller or independent brands doing some pretty exciting stuff at the moment. 3D printing, unique designs that we've never seen before, or one of my personal favorites, sneaker add-ons or protective cases. The problem is that Nike is the leader in the footwear space. When all they do is pump out retro sneakers, a lot of the other brands follow suit. We end up with the entire market kind of looking the same. And all of these different retro designs, when added to Nike's huge pile, it just creates a market where that's kind of all we see. I love retro sneakers and I don't want them to completely disappear, but I do think that we need more of a balance. And as for the sneaker resale market, I do think it is a little bit more nuanced than just yelling out death to resellers. But I can't lie, finally being able to buy the sneakers that I once fought so hard to be able to get for retail is quite a nice feeling. Will that last though? Who knows? But I would love to know your guys' opinion down in the comment section. And will they eventually bounce back from?
So what this is gonna lead to is brick and mortar stores closing, ultimately. Because that's really the biggest loss. The retros or what have you, product innovation, the things of this nature, not selling is not even close to how much of a loss that theft is. Here's how you got to think about theft. And this is a realistic way to think about theft because that's just what it is. So let's just think about one pair of shoes. Doesn't matter what it is. Jordan, Dunks, whatever. One pair of shoes. You manufacture one pair of shoes. You pay for the cost to manufacture that one pair of shoes. Boom. That's money out the window. You put it in the store. You figured all these costs in. Someone steals that shoe. So now, I'm just going to pick a number. The cost to manufacture, market, ship, put that shoe on the shelf in the store. Let's just say it's $100 total. $100 total with everything included. I think that's probably high, but we'll just roll with that. One pair of shoes. So now that shoe is stolen. So you're $100 in the hole for manufacturing the shoe. You're $100 in the hole when the shoe is stolen. So say if, okay, you put this shoe back on the shelf. That's another $100. All right, so we $300 in on one pair of shoes. And let's not forget, the shoe was stolen, which is right in the middle of this. So say if you actually sell a pair, a variation of those shoes. So now you're already $200 down. The way that you recover that is that you raise the price on every single shoe that you sell. And people already complain about the price of Nikes, which I think on the manufacturing retail price of Nikes, I just don't think it's that bad. Where you run into the issues is the resale market, because they just gouging you. I would never buy nothing in no resale market. I don't need no shoes that bad. Love shoes, got a whole lot of them. Gonna continue to buy them. I'm not buying no $315 pair of Jordans. No way, no how. I'm just not gonna do it. So I would think theft from all angles is the biggest issue that Nike would have, or any retailer. You pay for a product, not even a shoe really. You pay for a product once and then you lose at least twice on a product. Okay, your business is gonna fall really fast, really quick.